everybody, and welcome to another ASMR video here on the channel. Now today we have another installment of conspiracy theories. I actually recorded 8 minutes of this video before I realised I hadn't hit record, so we're doing it again. Good times. But anyway, as you can tell by the title, we are doing conspiracy theories about sports. So what I've done is collected a number of conspiracy theories for different sports, popular sports from around the world, and we're going to look at them sport by sport. So without further ado, let's begin with the first sport, which is basketball. Now, the first conspiracy theory is the 2002 NBA Western Conference Finals Game 6, Sacramento Kings at LA Lakers. Tim Donaghy was an NBA referee from 1994 to 2007, officiating in 772 regular season games and 20 playoff contests. But rumours of fixing games caused Donaghy to resign in July 2007. Concrete evidence presented by the FBI resulted in Donaghy pleading guilty to federal charges and being sentenced to 15 months in federal prison. After being released, Donaghy began telling tales of NBA officiating, gambling, and controlling the outcomes of games. His legal team even filed loosely veiled allegations against the NBA in US District Court. Although he does not name team or referee names, it is clear that Donaghy's attorney is referring to Game 6 of the 2002 NBA Western Conference Finals between the Sacramento Kings and Los Angeles Lakers. Referees A and F were officiating a playoff series between teams 5 and 6 in May 2002. It was the 6th game of a 7-game series, and a Team 5 victory that night would have ended the series. However, Tim learned from referee A that referees A and F wanted to extend the series to 7 games. Tim knew referees A and F to be company men, and always acted in the interest of the NBA, and that night it was in the NBA's interest to add another game to the series. Referees A and F heavily favoured Team 6. Personal fouls were ignored even when they occurred in full view of the referees. Conversely, the refs made up fouls on Team 5 in order to give additional free throw opportunities for Team 6. Their foul calling also led to the ejection of 2 Team 5 players. The referees' favouring of Team 6 led to that team's victory that night, and Team 6 came back from behind to win that series. There you go. The next conspiracy theory is the 1985 NBA Draft Lottery. Patrick Ewing to the New York Knicks. I'm just going to say now, I apologise if any of my pronunciation is terrible. I do not watch basketball. I try to get into it because quite a few of my friends are into the NBA, and I think I watch like 7 or 8 Pacers games in a season. I don't know why I chose Indiana Pacers, but I just couldn't get into it. Anyways, in 1985, Georgetown center Patrick Ewing was a can't-miss NBA prospect. Ewing lived up to his advanced billing as an 11-time NBA All-Star and member of the Basketball Hall of Fame. He never won an NBA championship, primarily due to the greatness of Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. But Ewing was the centerpiece of 13 playoff teams for the New York Knicks, a team that acquired the 7-footer via the first ever NBA draft lottery. After watching the footage, several oddities stand out. When putting the 7 envelopes into the drum, the 4th envelope is noticeably thrown against the side of the clear sphere, bending one corner of the envelope, while the other 6 are simply dropped into the bottom of the drum. Then, Commissioner David Stern lets out a stressful deep driving his hand into the drum, passing over several envelopes and drawing what turned out to be the New York Knicks, Stern's self-proclaimed favourite team. Along with the bin corner theory, many have speculated that the Knicks' envelope had been frozen prior to the drawing. Since the Ewing scandal, the NBA draft lottery has cleaned up its act. The ping pong ball lottery takes place in a room with no cameras. Then the results are announced by opening the envelopes on television. Stern is nowhere near the event. Who has been involved? The trustworthy employees of Ernst & Young, whose honest oversight experience also includes the fraudulent accounting practices of Lehman Brothers. It's all on the up and up. The Bulls received the right to draft Chicago native Derrick Rose, despite only a 1.7% chance of winning the lottery. The Orlando Magic won back-to-back number 1 picks, including Shaquille O'Neal. The New Jersey Nets won the number 1 pick in Rod Thorne's first draft, running the Nets, after 15 years of Thorne being Stern's right-hand man in the league office. The Cleveland Cavaliers got the top pick the year the best player in state history, LeBron James, was available, and the year after King James left town. The most recent lottery was won by the New Orleans Hornets, a team owned by the NBA during the 2011-12 season before being sold to Tom Benson. If the real lottery were run the way Stern runs the NBA draft lottery, no one would buy a ticket, and the right to draft Ewing, Shaq, LeBron, etc. is worth more than the Powerball. And is this the final? Yeah, this is the final boxing conspiracy theory. Michael Jordan didn't temporarily retire. He was suspended. In October 1993, shortly after winning his third NBA title in a row with the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan abruptly retired. The desire is just not there anymore, Jordan said via the Los Angeles Times. What's even more shocking, he was quitting basketball in favour of baseball. According to ESPN, Jerry Reinsdorf, owner of the Bulls and baseball Chicago White Sox, signed Jordan, who never got any higher than the team's minor league affiliate, the Birmingham Barons. Near the end of the 94-95 season, Jordan ultimately returned to basketball and eventually won 3 more championships with the Bulls. Early retirement, baseball, coming out of retirement and returning to world-class play, it all just didn't make sense for some conspiracists. The real reason Jordan disappeared from basketball for a year and a half, he was secretly suspended by the league over gambling issues, and retirement and baseball were a cover story to protect its highly marketable Golden Goose. In 1992, Jordan admitted in court that he racked up huge gambling debts to convicted drug dealer James Booler. Months later, Richard Aquinas wrote in his gambling addiction memoir that he'd won nearly $1 million in betting on golf games with Jordan. The NBA investigated Jordan's gambling activities for rule violations in summer 1993, just before he retired. There we have it. That was 3 conspiracy theories about basketball. Next sports we move into is boxing. I'm slightly more into boxing. I used to be super into boxing and follow it quite a lot, but not really as much anymore. So, first up we've got Muhammad Ali and the Phantom Punch. Controversy surrounding big fights is one of the biggest causes of arguments amongst fight fans. We can all argue about who we believe to be the best boxer, be that of all time or in the current era we find ourselves in now. For the record, the greatest of all time in my opinion is Sugar Ray Robinson. If he was considered the greatest by Muhammad Ali, then that's good enough for me. I can't say I've ever heard of Sugar Ray Robinson, my apologies. Controversial controversial decisions and stoppages divide fans worldwide. Should Lennox Lewis have got the decision over Evander Holyfield during their first meeting? Did Mike Tyson knock James Buster Douglas out during the 8th round of their bout? The list goes on. It's what we as fight fans love about the sport of boxing. Controversy and conspiracy go hand in hand. It's been in boxing for decades, ever since Jack Johnson lost to Jess Willard, right up to this present era in a bout featuring Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. However, a fight that occurred 55 years ago this coming May still has fight fans analysing that punch, the phantom punch administered by Muhammad Ali upon the chin of Sonny Liston on the 25th of May, 1965. I've researched the Liston vs Clay/Ali fights relentlessly, because Ali's real name was Cadius Clay, right? Watched the fight countless times, coming to the same conclusion over and over. Ali in no way should be held responsible for the fight. Sonny Liston during his early and prison life was nothing more than a bully and thug. It was during a spell in prison that Liston started to box. Upon release and subsequent short amateur spell, he turned pro in 1953. Unable to gain serious backers, Liston turned to the enforcers of the underworld bosses. He worked collecting outstanding debts for them in return for funding his pro career. Liston was a brooding, muscular beast of a man, and quickly racked up a fearsome reputation of knocking out his opponents. It was inevitable that he was heading for a title match with the then champion Floyd Patterson. There were lengthy delays getting the fight made. Patterson was advised by the US President, former champions and close friends not to let Liston fight for the title, as it was very evident that Liston was a mob-owned fighter. As the number one contender, the fight was eventually made in '62. In retrospect, the fight was a total mismatch. Liston knocked out Patterson in round 1 to become the world heavyweight champion. Liston was the most intimidating fighter of his day, considered by some to be among the best heavyweights of all time. Many were reluctant to meet Liston in the ring because he was looked upon as being a ferocious and indestructible fighter. The new pretender to the heavyweight crown was given little to no chance. The style of boxing used by the 22-year-old Cassius Clay was not considered suitable for the heavyweight division. Clay was of slight build for his category, perceived to have no punching power, and dethroning Liston for the heavyweight title was considered by many an impossible task. The first meeting between Liston and Clay, it ended with Liston giving up on his stall, resulting in the brash Clay becoming champion. Even though their first meeting was full of controversy, I would like to fast forward to their second meeting. The ending of the second Ali-Liston fight remains one of the most controversial in boxing history. Clay had now changed his name to Muhammad Ali after embracing the Nation of Islam. Midway through the first round, Liston threw a left jab and Ali went over it with a fast right, knocking the former champion down. Liston went down on his back. He rolled over, got to his right knee, and then fell on his back again. Many in attendance that night had not even settled in their seats before the fight was declared over, resulting in many of those in attendance calling the fight a fix. After analysing the footage over and over, my view is this. Ali threw a perfectly timed counter to Liston's left-hand jab, catching him flush on the chin. Of that there is no doubt. It's a punch of great speed and accuracy that is capable of knocking down an opponent. The saying goes, the punch that knocks you out is the one you don't see coming. This is true in this instance. I've watched Ali over and over from the point where he connects his punch to the final stoppage of the fight. You can clearly see that he is a young man who is both shocked and angry that Liston is rolling around on the canvas like a man poleaxed by a lump of timber. At this point you get that iconic image of Ali yelling at Liston to get up, yelling at him as if he believes Liston is trying to rob him of a legitimate KO victory. Liston, clearly not hurt, is ready to fight moments later on. Rock steady legs before referee Jersey Joe Walcott ruled that Liston was in fact counted out. We will never know for certain if the fight was fixed. Liston made sure he kept that a secret. Taking it to his grave, we can only guess the reasons why he did what he did. Interesting. So, next, I've only got 2 for boxing, so this is the next boxing one. Tyson Fury's loaded gloves, so a slightly more recent one. So, at the time of this article, next weekend will be the 1-year anniversary of Tyson Fury's famous win over Deontay Wilder. And this is the perfect example of a fighter not accepting he was beaten fair and square. Wilder has blamed everyone and everything for his loss, except himself, but the most serious accusation was levelled at Fury. In fairness to Wilder, the accusation started on YouTube, with fans claiming Fury had doctored his gloves before his first meeting with Wilder in 2018. Those accusations morphed into claims that Fury had loaded his gloves with an egg-shaped object for the rematch, something Wilder latched onto and ran with. Fury and his team have consistently denied they tampered with their gloves, and regardless, everyone in boxing knows how strict the gloving up process is. In fact, even Wilder's former trainer, Mark Brayland, dismissed the theory last week, confirming, "I doubt it very much. I don't know, I never seen nothing." But still, at the same time, he's not going to beat Tyson Fury regardless. Head trainer Jay Diaz was standing right there when the man was getting his hands wrapped. If they put something in there, either Jay's blind or... Fury has moved on from the rivalry. It's time Wilder did the same. So, moving on to a personal favourite sport of mine, and I'm sure many of my viewers, soccer or football. It's football, isn't it? I don't know why I led with soccer, it's just because it's what I got written down here. Obviously, this channel used to be a strictly football channel. Many of you won't know that, but this used to be Whispers Football. I see a few people in the comments who are still here from that time. I appreciate you. So, first up we got South Korea at the 2002 World Cup. Everybody loves a good run by a host nation in a major international tournament, particularly when that host nation, as was the case with South Korea in 2002, is a bit of an underdog. South Korea made it all the way to the semi-finals that year, a feat not beyond the realm of possibility given home advantage and the failure of many major nations such as Portugal and France to make it beyond the group stages. However, 2 matches in the South Koreans' run to the penultimate round of the tournament stuck out as having something slightly amiss about them. The first knockout round saw them triumph over Italy after extra time. The 90 minutes went by without much incident and the score was locked at 1-1. But Francesco Totti was then sent off harshly after the referee judged he dived. To make matters worse, Damiano Tomasi then had a goal incorrectly ruled out for offside, which would have seen the Italians through. Due to the golden goal rule still being in effect at that time, that should still be a rule today. The South Koreans then knocked them out with a golden goal of their own. The referee for the match, Byron Moreno, served multiple suspensions throughout his career for questionable decisions, and most recently spent time in prison for smuggling heroin. Oh, what a lovely guy. However, that game paled in comparison to the South Koreans' next match against Spain. The Spanish should have won it in normal time when an own goal was inexplicably ruled out. Once again, controversies surfaced in the golden goal situation, where Spain had another goal chalked off for crossing the byline when it was clearly still in play. Following the quarter-final, one Korean newspaper warned their run was no longer a speaks volumes. Next, we got a few short ones. Firstly, Nike makes Brazil play Ronaldo in 1998 World Cup final. I don't know about you guys, do you say Nike or Nike? I say Nike. Ronaldo was an integral part of Brazil's run to the final in the 1998 World Cup. What happened right before that final, though, is up for debate. Ronaldo apparently felt ill the night before the final and was not going to appear for his side. Rumours have it that Nike forced its hand with the Brazilian FA and made sure the team's star performer was on hand to showcase the company's brand. Things didn't work out too well for Nike or Ronaldo, as Zidane stole the spotlight and led France, who was sponsored by Adidas, to a victory while Ronaldo was completely ineffective. Next, we got Arsenal pipping Tottenham to 4th place in the 2005-06 season. Tottenham fans will love this one. Well, not really, but Arsenal fans will. With one game left in the season, all Tottenham needed to do was to equal Arsenal's result on the day, whether it be a loss, a win or a tie, and they would have finished the season in the Champions League spot that they were holding. The night before their final game against West Ham, a few key players fell ill from a meal at the team's hotel. Conspiracy theorists at the time made up stories about the chef being an Arsenal fan and other such things. The hotel was eventually cleared, but the source of the bug remains a mystery. Many still believe that someone planted food poisoning. Tottenham eventually lost to West Ham and Arsenal gained that spot in the Champions League. Next we've got Bobby Moore arrested in Colombia. England was set to defend its World Cup trophy in 1970, but preparations hit a little snag when Bobby Moore got into some legal troubles in Colombia. Moore was alleged to have stolen some jewellery from a local shop in Bogota. He was questioned by police, and at one point he was on house arrest for a few days. The English defender was eventually cleared of wrongdoing and able to catch up with his teammates for the tournament. It is generally believed that this arrest, which was a setup, was an attempt to derail England's chances for the tournament. And the final, is this the final one? Yeah, the final one for football is England and Germany worked together to get Uruguay and Argentina out of the '66 World Cup. In 1966, the World Cup quarter-finals featured England versus Argentina and Germany versus Uruguay. Apparently, Uruguay and Argentina representatives were invited to London for the referee selection, but when they arrived, it had already taken place, attended only by England and Germany officials. A German ref was chosen for England versus Argentina and an English one for Germany-Uruguay. There was controversy in both games, with Argentina's Antonio Ratin being sent off for verbal excess and 2 Uruguayan players receiving red cards as well. Well, I wouldn't really think we'd be working with Germany, but you never know. So, I believe that this is the final sport. I can't remember if it's just one conspiracy theory. Yeah, it's all one, but it's a big one. So we move from proper football to American football. So we begin with Deflategate. One of the strangest football stories in recent memory involved none other than the New England Patriots. The conspiracy theory regarding the 2015 AFC Championship game is that New England quarterback Tom Brady knowingly played with underflated footballs, breaking a league rule in the process to gain an unfair advantage over the Indianapolis Colts. The Patriots beat the Colts 45-7, making it seem as if Brady could have used beach balls and still easily won the contest. Nevertheless, the NFL pursued punishments for Brady and the Patriots for over a year, and Brady served a 4-game suspension at the start of the 2016 season. It's thought by some the NFL wanted to nail Brady and the Patriots this time around, in part because the league didn't do enough about the Spygate allegations. And now, so that's essentially what Deflategate is. So coming off that, there are a number of conspiracy theories around the truth behind Deflategate. So, conspiracy theory number 1. The Colts framed the bats. After intercepting Brady's pass in the second quarter, Colts linebacker DeQuell Jackson handed the ball off to a locker room attendant who deflated the ball on purpose. Why this is possible? The television broadcast cut to commercial as Jackson ran to the sidelines to dump the ball, so there is no accounting for the ball's whereabouts. In later interviews, Jackson said he handed it off to a Colts locker room attendant because he wanted the ball as a souvenir. But locker room attendants are just the kind of people with the necessary tools to flatten a ball, are they not? Everyone agrees that this was the ball used as evidence, the catalyst for the rest of Deflategate. But who flattened it? Potential motive behind this. Colts blamers argue this diabolical scheme was hatched by none other than the Indianapolis general manager Ryan Grigson, who first reported air pressure concerns to the NFL, and whom they believe has nursed a grudge against the Patriots ever since he worked in the scouting department for the St. Louis Rams. The Patriots upset the Rams in a controversial Super Bowl. So who believes this theory? Die-hard Patriot fans, the kind of guys who drink Narragansett for the taste, who resent anyone that reminds them of how subpar the franchise was before or during 2001. Why this theory is absurd? Who waits 13 years to act on a potentially non-existent grudge? And if a team really went to this much trouble to frame the bats, why would their entire strategy hinge on intercepting a pass from Brady, who only threw 10 picks in the games leading up to the championship? Yeah, American NFL, American football is another sport I did try to get into, but it's just so stop-start. Like, I know it's not really like rugby, but if we were to compare it to something we have here more commonly, it's like that, but just more stoppages and constant ads. I just couldn't watch it. I was definitely more into basketball than NFL. Conspiracy theory number 2 about Deflategate. Mike Kensill, a former New York Jets executive and now the NFL's vice president of game operations, tampered with the investigation in order to forever tarnish the Jets' long-time rival. Why it's possible? In his current position, Kensill is essentially in charge of regulating the air pressure of game balls. After the Colts lodged their complaint in the second quarter, it was Kensill, and not Walt Anderson the referee, who intervened to personally inspect the footballs and reinflate each one at half-time. Could he have purposely taken the wrong readings to destroy the Patriots? The motive: hatred between the Jets and Patriots, the NFL's Hatfields and McCoys, is forever. Who believes this theory? Anti-New York City truthers, the same guys who believe the 1985 NBA draft lottery was rigged in favour of the New York Knicks using a frozen envelope. Oh, okay, so this article obviously doesn't believe in that theory that we read earlier. And why it's absurd, it literally just says, is anyone that passionate about the Jets? Maybe this is making more sense and is more interesting to my American viewers, because I don't really have a clue what's going on. And conspiracy theory number 3. The Patriots deflated their own footballs in order to distract the public from even more nefarious behaviour, the possibly illegal mid-season signing of running back LeGarrette Blount. Why it's possible? Deflategate turned into a media firestorm subsuming many other storylines in an already controversial season. If the Patriots needed a reason to hide something else, this certainly did the trick. The motive, to some, Blount's mid-season move from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Patriots looked fishy. How is it that Blount, I keep changing, I'm going to say Blount, okay, throws a temper tantrum and storms off the field in Pittsburgh, gets cut the next day, and the Patriots happily sign him a few days later? Did the Patriots secretly communicate with him, maybe giving him the assurance he'd have a gig waiting for him in the Northeast if he imploded with the Steelers? And then, to distract us from the shady deal, they started letting the air out of balls. Who believes it? Fantasy football fanatics who dropped Blount after he was cut, only to watch him soar the next Sunday with the Pats. That's pretty funny, actually. Why, it's absurd. Even if it was a cover-up, no professional sports organisation wants the amount of attention a Benghazi-grade scandal would bring. I mean, why even employ Gronk then? And finally, a little quick theory. The Patriots deflated their own footballs in order to clear a path for Brady's successor, Jimmy Garoppolo. It's possible because the 4-game suspension gives the Patriots ample time to try out young Garoppolo without worrying about upsetting Brady. The motive: Brady will be 38 when the 2015 season starts, and while his health hasn't been an issue, the Patriots have a succession crisis, and yada yada yada. Who believes it? This writer, who needs a fourth conspiracy theory to round out his Deflategate story. Why it's above, why it's absurd. See above. There we go. And that is the final conspiracy theory of today's video. While I was looking, there were loads I didn't do, so do let me know if a part 2 is something you'd want. We could maybe branch out into other sports like athletics and rugby, I don't know, but there's loads more for soccer, NFL, basketball, so let me know if a part 2 is something you would like to see, and let me know any other conspiracy theories you'd like to see covered on the channel, obviously ones we haven't done yet, because we are slightly running out. I believe I had a request for conspiracy theories about pop culture / celebrities, and that is scheduled. I think I'm going to do that in like 7 or 8 videos time. I think I've got scheduled, so yeah, but I really hope you did all enjoy this video. If you did, please give it a like, and why not subscribe if you're new? It's great here. And until the next video,